Yo, have you heard about Anchor? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast, Dragonball edition. Today, we are going to be talking some Dragon Ball for the first time in 2021. And when you're talking Dragon Ball, you got to have Mitch Osso on. Mitch, first off, since this is your first one of 2021, hope you're having a happy new year, and I hope you had a good holiday season with the fam.
Oh, absolutely, I did, and yep, 2021's been already a crazy year, as maybe some people have been looking around. Whether it be sports or politics, there's definitely a lot going on, but well, at least there's one consistent thing that we can all kind of look towards, and that is every month something new Dragon Ball comes out. So,
Right, agreed. So, yeah, so first Dragon Ball 1 of 2021. So, what we're going to hit on today, guys, is we're going to give a brief talk about the last manga chapter. We're not going to go fully in depth about it. It wasn't that eventful. Just going to talk about the introduction of a new character, Beerus's punishment, and spoiler alert, Mirrors is back. And then we're just going to talk about things we liked about Dragon Ball as a whole in 2020, maybe our favorite moments from from Dragon Ball superheroes or the chapters, things like that, and what we want from Dragon Ball this year in 2021. So, Mitch, I'm going to toss it to you and just give a brief synopsis about what happened in the latest chapter and the main points of the last chapter.
absolutely. So, main points. Goku and Vegeta, as the fighters, they defeat Moro, and it starts off by they're celebrating and they're discussing the victory, all the other hoopla jazz, and some main points in regards to their initial talks here. Nothing really out of the ordinary. Vegeta asks Goku where the divine energy came from that was given to him so that he could go back into Ultra Instinct. Goku's not sure, and Vegeta tells him, "You're full of it. Tell me who it is." And Goku's like, "Maybe we'll figure out later." And of course, that's Oob, and that will lead us eventually to more of Oob's involvement later on in Super, or maybe something past Super. Maybe like when we see him again in the martial arts tournament, like what happened at the end of Z there. Back on the lookout, the Grand Supreme Kai. He leaves Boo, goes back to lookout, reverts back to Majin Buu. Everyone's still celebrating. And Hercule decides to throw a big party, as I feel like he always does. And Goku returns. The little Namekian child that they had assisting them. Honestly, I'll be totally frank, I don't remember his name. But they returned him. They used the Super Dragon Balls to restore the planets that Moro destroyed and revive the beings who he killed. And you see a couple pans of planets coming back. Then the next section here, Goku and Vegeta are being taken to the Galactic Patrol, and they're going to be, awarded for their efforts. It's kind of funny. There's a little scene here where they're talking, and Jocko is mentioning to Goku that he's about to get honored by the head of the Galactic Patrol, and Goku's not interested at all. And Jocko scolds him, telling him there's an idiot, that there's no greater honor than what you're about to get. These medals are only for the true elite. And Goku's like, how many do you have? Jocko says this will be his first. Kind of a little chuckle there. And some other things. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Miris turns out to be alive still, or should I say resurrected. We didn't know this. Well, some of us predicted, some of us didn't. We didn't know. But he is back. He tugs on Goku's arm during the presentation, and introduces himself, and he gets an award. And they start talking as to how in the world he is still around, even though he was erased. And he reveals that he was brought back by the Grand Priest. What happened was a few days prior, and the panels here show the events when Whis and Beerus were summoned during the battle against Moro to the Grand Priest's mansion, home, palace, whatever we would like to call it. He starts talking that this is kind of like unacceptable. Whis apologizes for what happened, that he didn't expect Miris to break the laws, and he had stated that he would just kind of leave him to his fate. And then all of a sudden he reveals that the reason why he brought Miris back was because the Supreme Kai, not the Grand Supreme Kai, the Supreme Kai that we've always known to be in charge of everything, supposedly. He pled to the Grand Priest for to sacrifice his life so that Miris could be back, or could be resurrected or brought back. And he wasn't or the Supreme Kai was not sacrificed, but it did make the Grand Priest reconsider. And so he brought Miris back as a mortal with no angel powers, and so he is back. And then the kind of end this part before we get into the kind of meat and potatoes of this chapter. Beerus had to be punished for what happened with Miris, and Supreme Kai was also punished. And how they were punished? Well, the servants to the Omni Kings, the two, I don't even know how to describe these lanky little whole noodle looking dudes. They were given a break, so they go to a spa while Beerus and Supreme Kai are being used as basically horses in a horse race. And Omni Kings are riding on their back, having a blast, and it's just pure embarrassing. No way else to put it. And yeah, that is that. So going to, as I stated, the interesting parts of this chapter is that this part will lead us into the next arc. So Jocko and one of the other security guards, they're walking through the Galactic Patrol with all the prisoners who've been brought back, and they're talking about 7-3. And that was in Moro, and they asked, did you guys go down into the crater and make sure that everyone was dead? Like is 7-3 dead? And they were like, no. And the prisoners are kind of like, oh, that's interesting. So they go, and Jocko and them, they go and check the crater that Moro exploded in, and they don't find anything. But before they arrive, we see a pan of 7-3 with just his head, and half of his head is missing, and he is sending a signal of some sort, maybe a distress signal, Morse code. It probably isn't Morse code, but same concept. And there are some people, some characters that we don't really know anything about. They sprint over to Earth and recover 7-3's head right before the Galactic Patrol arrives to investigate. Like I said, they didn't see anything. And then you see those people leave with 7-3's head, and they head back to a spaceship far, far away in the corner of the galaxy, far from Earth. And on there, we come to learn that this spaceship has some sort of like evil thug lord. He's probably a very much a minor character, just really advancing the story. But it seems like there's a whole bunch of like scientists on this ship, and they have been assembling a whole bunch of 7-3s. And so if they have the 7-3 that was, absorbed by Moro, remember that 7-3 did copy Moro's abilities. Maybe they could move all of the information into other 7-3s. You could just have a whole bunch of 7-3s with Moro's powers that could lead to something very dangerous. But that is not actually the part that really kicks off this arc, and that is there is a brand new character, and his name is Granola, like maybe Granola, since there is a trend throughout the entire series of characters with food kind of names. So maybe Granola is how we pronounce this or whatnot. Granola appears to be somewhat a humanoid, and he has a scanner kind of eye patch on his right eye, and he's flying right towards this ship, talking to, I don't know if it's a computer or if it's a comrade, but he is going on this ship, and he is searching for, at the time, something, and he's going to just, start causing mayhem. So he boards the ship. They call the people on the ship, call for security, and he comes in with a blaster, and he just annihilates everyone that's in his way. And then all of a sudden he's walking through, and there's some shots of him, and they're pretty detailed. They're pretty sweet looking. His design is pretty, outlawish. He seems like a fetcher or like maybe like a bounty hunter, but not really sure, of course, of his strengths, who's working for, or if he's the main antagonist, or even if he's a protagonist. We don't know anything. But then, as he's walking through the ship looking for what he needs, he comes across a corridor with a ton of 7-3 like duplicates. Now, they're not all called 7-3. Like there's like a 7-2 or a 7-4, whatever, a 20, whatever it might be. So they're just different copies. But he is looking for the 7-3 that was on Earth. But we still all think that all of these 7-3 duplicates are, strong as hell, because we've seen what one does. And he uses key, just like, borderline everyone in the series, and directs some key blasts towards the center crystal of all of these 7-3 copies and destroys them, like, without an issue. And it's just really impressive, since, we've seen the Z fighters struggle against 7-3 and whatnot. And this guy just comes in and just shocks everyone right in the head. So, still, again, he's walking around just destroying everyone on the ship, and then he finds the 7-3 that was on Earth, and then the chapter ends that just wait and see what his next move is. There's a whole bunch of other like 7-3 copies still around. He's going to get rid of them and take the original and see what his intentions are, maybe, hopefully. So, but that's it. Next chapter hits in 12 days from now on the 20th. We're recording this on the 8th, so January 20th.
Yeah, we, like you already said, we absolutely know nothing about Granola. We don't know if he's just the main bad guy for the next arc, or he's just a right-hand man for the main bad guy, or he's a anti-hero. We know nothing about him. It looks like he was searching for 7-3, and we just got introduced to 7-3 in this arc, but it seems like other people in the universe are familiar with 7-3 because I don't think Granola would be coming out to come get him if 7-3 didn't have any value across the universe. So, and you brought up an interesting point too, that they could potentially have an army of 7-3s with Moro's abilities. We just saw that Moro's abilities took the Z Fighters 2 years to beat. So that could be that's a very interesting point that you brought up.
It's going to be something, and maybe that'll happen. But it looks like Granola's he's just decimating all of them. So I mean, um, he he's a badass, and I wonder. I'm just curious if he's going to be a badass, like in the sense of like, is he a typical like villain or protagonist? He just has like sweet skills. Like what changes him, or what difference does he have versus everyone else? Because when we first saw Miras fighting with the Galactic Patrol, and Goku and Vegeta were they were trying to stop those people from stealing gold. Like back at the beginning of the Moral arc, we didn't know that Miras was an angel, and that was a sweet like plot device there, and that turned out good. So what is this guy's deal? I wish like the mangas were like in color quicker, because he looks like he has he has like white hair, and I wish like we could tell like skin color, because then we can compare it to like is he an angel? We're probably shooting for the stars on that one, but like, is he a rogue angel? Is he another in training, or one that somehow got away from the Galactic Patrol? I don't know why he'd be going for 7-3. So again, that one is probably wrong, but it's always food for thought.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible because, like you said at the beginning, we didn't think Miras was an angel till I think it was Vegeta on the ship saying that he couldn't sense him move. If I remember, that we were starting to suspect that, well, if Vegeta couldn't sense him move, the only people that he would be gods or higher. So, I mean, anything's possible, but yeah, just like you said, strength level wise, because I think this has always been something we've bragged about with Dragon Ball, is that the last bad guy took uh, a Megazord of perfect Ultra Instinct to beat. So where are we going to go from here? And if this guy's just super sweet and skilled, unless the guy has Jiren level skill, he's not going to be that much of a challenge.
That is true, and you actually brought up a point, or you brought up just now something that I never considered, but I have some other like sources or channels that I listen to, because I feel like you should listen to a lot of people in terms of their reviews on stuff and whatnot. And I didn't think about this with how, and I guess this can go into maybe something that I want to see different out of Dragon Ball for this upcoming year. But so this arc was 25 chapters long, and it spanned 2 years, as you said. And 25 chapters, like, is a lot, but it's really not a lot. What made this arc really, drag out was the fact that they only released one chapter a month.
Yep.
As whenever I asked you, because I'm not an expert on other animes. So like that title belongs to yourself and then Cedric. Anyone listening to this, Cedric Ware has a podcast on the L7C intro for anime. Highly recommend listening to it. He gives you just an introduction as for everything about anime and mangas and all that fun jazz. Go listen to that. Give it a little thumbs up, and show some support to Cedric. Definitely want to get him on the podcast just to talk about some super stuff. I don't know how deep he gets involved with it, but he is very, very knowledgeable and everything. But where I was going at with this is other animes release weekly chapters, and That's how Dragon Ball used to be back in the 80s and 90s. Now, we had a lot of issues with Super, and part of that, whenever I was listening to some people, they had mentioned that, if everything was released like week after week after week instead, you didn't have a month to linger on the bad stuff. Or if at least these chapters were not necessarily just 40 pages long, if there was they were 3 chapters worth of information and storytelling, maybe we would not have been as upset when Goku tossed the Senzu bean, because we could get past it like quicker. We didn't linger on it because we had a whole month just to bake in the fact that Goku is an idiot, and that's the one thing that I was wondering, because they brought this up, and this is the point in which I was trying to connect to, is when you said that Goku turned into the Megazord Ultra Instinct. I remember sitting there looking at that, and I was thinking to myself, like, where did this come from? Where did this 100-foot Goku energy coming out of nowhere? Because some people were saying that this was like a ripoff of, I think, Naruto,
Yeah.
But whenever I was listening to the review, they brought this up that Super had already, and in this arc, already had hinted at something like that happening. And that was when Vegeta went to Yardrat, right? And then he saw the head Yardrat guy, and he showed that he could change his physical size, He started really big, and then he shrunk down, and then he explains to Vegeta, energy control, and that you can do basically whatever you want. So, but I never considered that, because when Vegeta is learning that was 13 chapters ago, or however long it was. That was over a year ago. I can hardly remember what exact details happened there. So I wish, and I would prefer if, instead of giving me 1 chapter every month, I'd almost rather sometimes go just maybe a little bit of time and just give me all of it, in kind of like packages. Maybe not once every week, but give me like 3 chapters worth of material once a month or something, even make the story just more detailed. That's what I want, but I don't think it's going to happen, but never know.
Yeah, no, that's all good points on you. And since we're already in that subject, let's just go right into it. We'll start with things. We'll do, I guess, negative, then positive. Things that we want out of Dragon Ball in 2021. You brought up the chapters. I would be fine if they even went bi-weekly.
Yeah,
I think that would actually.
I could do every 2 weeks. I think that would be perfectly acceptable. And and even if they need to take like off, like give me chapter 68, maybe get me all the way to 70, and then take 3 months off where you're not giving me anything, or 2 months, give me 2 or 3 months where you're not giving me anything, and then for 6 straight months, give me bi-weekly stuff, and then take a break, give me bi-weekly stuff. Because that's how, for example, South Park does their shows. They have it might have changed, and I might have my exact numbers off, so just bear with me. But they have like a 12, let's say a 12 season or 12 episode season. Well, they're going to do the first 6 episodes like in the springtime, because they pump them out every week. They start production on Thursday, and then they're done Wednesday morning for the show to air on Comedy Central Wednesday night. And then it goes 6 weeks, and then they're off for 6 months, and then they're back at it doing the 6, and so on and so forth. So it's like, that's what I would be fine with that. 2 months off, 3 months off, give me bi-weekly for X number of time, take a break, or just stop showing me stuff so you can keep working on it in the meantime. So.
Yeah, that was one thing I thought about, things I would like to see in 2021. And I guess the biggest thing that everyone else is can we get a definitive thing from the head of Dragon Ball Toriyama? Them like, what is happening with the anime? Is it coming back or is it not? Like, let's just get a definitive thing. Of course, everyone thinks it's coming back, but it's almost been 3 years, I think, since Super ended, because it ended March 30th, I think, something like that, 2018, and now we're about to go 3 years without Super on TV. So I just want to know from the head people, is it coming back or not? We didn't even get a movie that we were supposed to get a movie, and after Broly, and we didn't get that. So I just want to know officially from them if it's happening and what's the date. Not from any YouTubers, but officially from them. Like, when's it happening?
Yeah, a formal statement would be much appreciated. I think the anime is coming back. I think there's just too much money that's on the table for them not to grab. I just don't know if it's coming back this year. Now, we at least did get that news that they were rerunning the anime on television. Probably Adult Swim is running it again. You can find Dragon Ball Super, all 131 episodes on Hulu. So if you ever missed an episode, there you go. Go catch up. You can watch literally all 131 episodes. So, but yeah, I think just with how they've treated the anime, I don't think we're going to see a new anime this year. Heck, it wouldn't surprise me if we at least got halfway through the granola arc or the end of it before we even got a new anime with, Moro. But if this arc's going to take 2 years as well, then we're going to wait till 2022, 23 before we ever see anything again. So that's that. However, another thing I would like them to see is I want a new Xenoverse. I want Xenoverse 3. I know we keep pumping out season passes and a whole bunch of content for Xenoverse 2, but we're going to be hitting the 5-year anniversary mark. I'm ready for a new game.
Yeah, I actually had that in I have Xenoverse in my things I want to see in 2021 and things good about 2020. But yeah, it is time for a new game to come out and a new Dragon Ball Z game. I know the newest one was Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, so they can still do stuff with that. But now, obviously, with the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and XL, I think that it'd be the right time to drop a new game, especially because the Xenoverse, now you can implement the entire Moro arc into Xenoverse, which would be super interesting. And Xenoverse is known for having some very interesting dialogue if you play the game very thoroughly. So you can implement that, and you can do the full tournament of power in it and new stuff. But yeah, that would be those are things to have in 2021. So I guess from that, what did you like from Dragon Ball in 2020?
What did I like from Dragon Ball? It's hard to say anything truly specific, because I feel like 2020 was kind of, not bad, but it wasn't like a strong year, like you had mentioned. There wasn't any movies, no anime news. The moral arc was overall pretty good. Whenever I start to reflect more and more on it, it shapes up to be probably maybe the best structured arc. Still has obviously some flaws with Toritaro and Toriyama signing off on silly stuff, but overall, I mean, this arc took a step forward in storytelling, from multiple angles. So kind of a good sign that they may have seen some issues that they had in early super arcs, and they're correcting the course. And I mean, that just makes for a better arc. The games, I didn't get a chance to buy, Dragon Ball. I didn't get to buy Kakarot, so I didn't get to try that one out as much. And yeah, there just wasn't a whole lot. I mean, still Fighter Z, and there's still Xenoverse, and just ready for some new stuff. Now, what they're doing with what they're doing with Xenoverse 2 and Fighter Z and Kakarot, they're constantly releasing, content. They're not just tossing the game out to the public and then just leaving it be. That was fine and dandy back whenever we had a PlayStation 2, Xbox One, and then as the new generation of consoles came out, then it was like, downloadable content, season passes, whatever it might be. And Xenoverse 1 hardly had a damn thing. And I complained about that one all the time because that was the season pass I bought and didn't get a damn extra penny out of it. And then Xenoverse 2, they released new stuff every quarter, and it's just impressive. So that's a good sign that they're just going to keep pumping out content. I think it's a good sign they give us that content too because they know it's a moneymaker, which then goes back to what we were talking about with the anime. If the games are making money, then the anime is only going to make more money too. So maybe maybe everything's trending in the right direction. That was what was good about 2020. Wasn't exciting, but
Yeah, and
trendy.
right. And I just want to add more to the video game stuff, because on December 20th, Xenoverse hit 7 million sales, Xenoverse 2, and Dragon Ball Fighter Z hit 6 million sales. So that's 13 million sales off Dragon Ball games, just those two. So, and obviously those two are held right now as the two best Dragon Ball games of all time. Xenoverse 2 because of its expandability and things of that nature. Fighter Z because no one thought that you would be able to have a Dragon Ball game that would be able to fight in the competitive fighting market, and which Fighter Z has done. And Fighter Z just released. They're about to get Super Baby 2 Vegeta as DLC this month, and then they're getting Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta in the future, and then Xenoverse 2 is getting Pycon and things like that. So I think the video games, just seeing that milestone was just crazy because I saw some other big anime Twitters talking about just how Dragon Ball fans are so spoiled because if you're almost guaranteed some way on any system a Dragon Ball game almost once a year, and other animes are just fighting to get a game. So I think just taking that like 13 million off those two games alone. I don't have Kakarot's numbers. I'm sure they're over a million, but just and Xenoverse 2 and Fighter Z came out many years ago and they're still selling, which is that's the wild part that they're still selling.
Yeah, they have a sort of, Grand Theft Auto or like, the epitome of games that are getting sold even, a decade after it's released, like, Skyrim. Like, I swear there's a new version of Grand Theft Auto, like an update, or a new version, like a limited edition of Skyrim, and it just keeps selling. And we make fun of that kind of stuff because it's like, give us a new thing. But if people are buying it, I mean, don't. I mean, if someone's putting dollars in your hand, you won't retract your arm until there's no cash dropping down on it. So I mean, can't get mad. So I mean, kudos to the companies that make these games because they made a product that that withstands time, and that's hard. That's hard to do. I mean, like take Call of Duty. Call of Duty can't do that. They pump out a game every year, and maybe they could, but they've kind of dug themselves into a hole where they have to make a game every year. It's with the expectation, and there's other shooter games out there that could just replace them. But in terms of Dragon Ball stands on top. Like what you said, you don't see other anime or manga based games, and kind of think it's a shame. But I do believe over in Japan they have more games like that. But I don't know. But,
Yeah, there's games over there, but it's just the fact that it takes a while for let's say, I guess someone who does get games every so often, like a Naruto, but Dragon Ball is getting literally, if you go through Dragon Ball's history from Budokai 1, 2, 3, and then Tenkaichi 1, 2, 3, then Burst Limit, then Raging Blast 1, 2, the Xenoverse 1, 2. Like it's every new console there is guaranteed a
You know,
Dragon Ball
the
game.
only series that you could probably say is like, even though I feel as though they've slowed down a little bit. The only other like anime series or manga that would compete with that number of games is Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh
Yeah.
used to pump out, oh my God, tons. I almost think during our childhood, mid 2000s, I feel like there was way more, and I could be wrong, way more Yu-Gi-Oh games because they had like on the Game Boy Advance. I mean, I'm already thinking of like like 4, 5, 6 games on that thing, and then the other Game Boys that came out. You had PlayStation 2, you had Duels of the Roses, GameCube had Falsebound Kingdom, and those were console exclusives too. And it's like, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh was they're bringing out a ton of stuff. I still see new Yu-Gi-Oh stuff,
Yeah,
but haven't stayed on top of it.
yeah, they only have like one game out for
Pokemon,
like all the consoles.
yeah, but
Pokemon
that's
is the other one. Yeah, it
Pokemon's
comes
its own
every
breed.
show. So yeah, yeah,
What
you're
about
right on those.
Digimon?
Those are.
Has Digimon like I remember back in the day, Digimon came all out. All
Mm-hmm. No, no, they still have games. I haven't. I I just haven't played any of their newest games. I think they just announced they have something coming in 2021. But I feel like, I mean, if they could bring back a Rumble Arena or a like back to that, like a Super Smash thing for Digimon, I would be all on board with that. Or like a create your tamer Digidestined child, and you get to pick your Digimon and grow with them in a super big open world. I'd be all for
um,
that.
yeah. If you ever get a chance, I know I've talked or shown or discussed it with you. For anyone, I know we're kind of getting off track from Dragon Ball here, but if you ever get a chance to boot up the PlayStation 1 and you can find a Digimon World 1, try that out because you start off as a tamer, get pulled into the Digiworld, and you literally have to raise your Digimon. Like, you have to make sure they get fed, you have to make sure that they train, you have to let them sleep, you have to let them use the bathroom. If you don't do any of that stuff, it affects how your Digimon will digivolve. And then the bastard dies, and then you have to start over, and you're in the middle of the storyline, and you have to go basically reverting back all the way to your beginnings just to get your guy strong again before you go and continue the game. Like, oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. They need to redo that one. It was fun though, but it was tough.
And then also, Dragon Ball, I guess manga side, I do think there was some real good chapters that stood out. When it comes to mind is when Vegeta arrived and he showed his new technique, the Spirit Fisher, or when Goku showed that he could go Omen, even though it pisses off for a little, he can go Omen at will. Even that he did go Master Ultra Instinct, that punch that he punched Moro, which you've deemed now the best punch now in Dragon Ball, that was a very cool shot. So there was some very good
Mhm.
artwork during the
Yeah,
manga
the
for it.
the manga did great. So I mean, like, what made this arc good compared to the other ones was, let alone there was more world building. So it wasn't just
Yeah,
we were focused on Goku and Vegeta basically all throughout the previous arcs. When Goku and Vegeta, they went to the Galactic Patrol. We saw what was going on with them, and then the Galactic Patrol was saving or preventing those thieves from stealing at the beginning. World building. Then they get dynamic. They get beat up. Goku and Vegeta go separate ways, and when they go separate ways, it was a polar. It wasn't the same. Goku is training with an angel. Vegeta is on Yardrat. You see what's going on there. You see what's going on Earth. You have 7-3 and all them invading Earth after they take the porcupines' powers that allow them to teleport. So you see the Z fighters actually engaging. You see them training for when Moro arrives. And then all of a sudden, Moro's there, Z fighters are getting stomped. And who shows up first? Goku. Goku shows up before Vegeta. That is not that's not the order of events that we're used to. So you knew then by default Vegeta had to step in to do something when Goku didn't get the job done, and that's what happened. Vegeta shows up. He shows off a new power. I wish there was more like kind of like an illustration as to how that power worked. I mean, he just punched him and then was getting weaker. So like visually, that was kind of boring. But the thought of the power itself is amazing. Maybe there could have been a better name. Force Spirit Fission. That's kind of a mouthful. But again, I'm not a writer, so there's probably nothing else you could say that's cooler. I'm not going to sit here and try because I don't think I could. And then we just saw Moro kind of doing his thing, just destroying planets and just getting stronger. But he had an interesting skill set. He had magic. All of the other fighters after like Frieza, it was basically okay. These enemies are really strong with power. Okay, how do we beat them? Okay, we just have to punch them harder. Okay, but with Moro, it was if you're close to him or you're touching the ground, he's going to take your power. So it's like you don't want to be close to this guy. So how are you going to fight this guy? So I mean, he added an element of diversity with the villains, and it was overall pretty. And then Miras too. Miras was cool. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was good stuff in 2020, and one of the tweets I saw that were spoiled because we always expect more from Dragon Ball because we've seen their highest of highs with battles and character building and all of that. And I'm really excited to see how 2021 goes with this new era literally starting a couple of days from now on the 20th with the new chapter, and we'll both read it and see how we are starting. Hopefully with the first one they can have like a big like 60-page.
Do you think we're going to have issues in getting spoilers due to what's going on right now in the anime manga world with Shueisha just copyrights?
Yeah, I do, because I mean all the big Twitter people and YouTubers are saying watch what you're posting on Twitter because they're taking everything down, go to somewhere else like Instagram or things like that. So I think that will affect getting spoilers. And there's a part of me where, I mean, I watched Dragon Ball Z and GT with no spoilers. So I don't know. I'm kind of a little excited. Well, not excited for the content creators, but if we don't get any spoilers and we're just thrusted into this chapter on the 20th, we'll build that excitement up.
Pretty spot on. I'm just so surprised that so many Twitter accounts are getting blocked temporarily until they start removing stuff. I think all of this talk on Twitter, I mean, it just gets everything hyped up. I mean, all of the talk about the preview of like Goku versus Jiren that crashes Crunchyroll. Without social media, I don't think that's happening. And when Goku gave Moro the Senzu Bean, that hyped up that chapter so much because so many people wanted that chapter to come out. And I don't know, sometimes I think whenever you're banning all these content creators from, all they're doing is just talking about your stuff and you're just kind of silencing them, or you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Now, they probably don't. I don't understand why we've been getting, leaks 10 days in advance, but if you're getting leaks 10 days in advance and you don't want your drafts to be out there, well, you need to find the mole that's in your company that's releasing this crap, or you need to find a new IT guy like my man Patrick Carlson and get him to put a firewall up so people don't get your crap. So that's on them. But
yeah, agreed. We're gonna have to wait and see. I mean, we're in the new year. There's gonna be a lot of stuff coming out the pipelines. Obviously, the video games are starting with their season passes. We'll get the chapter, and we got 12 months to see what we get. Hopefully, we get some word of the anime. Just tell us it's starting in 2022. Give us an exact date. We'll be there. Crunchyroll. Shout out to also on Facebook. Was it San TV? Who, if we wanted to watch the episodes live, we all were able to watch because of him or her. That was a good source, and we'll be back because I mean, once you get Dragon Ball back on Crunchyroll or Facebook on Saturdays, you're gonna have people stop what they're doing to make sure they watch that stuff live.
They better. But just like I said about when Crunchyroll crashed, it's kind of like the same thing. Like when you were purchasing tickets for Avengers, and a week prior we made the prediction they better get more servers, and they better hook them up quick, and they better have more IT guys on standby to fix any of the bugs and all the glitches. Because if people can't get their Avengers tickets, they're going to raise hell. And what happened? Except for you, people didn't get their tickets, and they were pissed off. And somehow, even with like Fandango, I believe it was, down for 6 hours or 12 hours, however many hours, Avengers still broke the record for most pre-sale tickets in 24 hours. Just these companies need to know, especially in 2021, everyone is ready, to get out of their house. They're ready for stuff that's exciting, and they will all flock whatever is going to entertain them. And if it's Crunchyroll or Adult Swim, whatever it might be, they need to they need to be ready.
Yeah, and that's a whole other podcast that we can do, our journey to Endgame, because that is something that can be talked about with everyone, from how we got from the first we watched together from Iron Man 3 to Endgame, and like you said, it crashing, but us still getting an entire row and a half by that. But I digress. But Mitch, is there anything else you want to hit on with Dragon Ball first one of 2021 before we're back in a couple
Nope, I think we covered a decent amount of stuff. Yep, always a pleasure, and always excited for to discuss everything and anything. And I think now we've said this on another chat, or can't get the words out of my mouth. Another podcast. I think it'd be nice if we did a review of maybe Dragon Ball or Z or GT, just kind of go over some of that stuff too. And well, maybe we can make that happen. Maybe it'll obviously get a little more difficult within the coming months. For any listener out there, I'm expecting my first child in March. Woo! Can't wait to teach him all about Dragon Ball, and it'll be some good times. And well, have no fear though. We'll still keep pumping out the reviews and the previews for you guys. So I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, most definitely on the reviews of Dragon Ball Z, GT. I mean, just I don't know, by the time you guys hear this, if the other won't be out, as you brought him up, Cedric will be back, and he's actually going to be talking some Naruto on his newest episode and reviewing some things and starting a monthly thing that we're going to start with Naruto. So we definitely do what we're going to start doing with Naruto with Dragon Ball. I don't want to spoil that yet. Gotta listen to Cedric's one when it comes out, and what we're going to be doing monthly with that. And yeah, again, thank you everyone for listening. We know Dragon Ball Z is not just an anime, it's culture. So for everyone listening across the world, me and Mitch, we appreciate you guys. I hope everyone had a great holiday season once again. You'll probably hear me say that on everyone's first podcast of the month. And yeah, our first full year as the L7C podcast. So let's see what we can do. Well, with that being said, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast.
Take care, everyone.
You guys take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe subscribe to the channel, follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.